What do you think are Russia's intentions towards your country?
Not different than Russia's intentions to Great Britain. We are very similar. We are both NATO countries. Russia does have some interest to perhaps politically influence, perhaps also economically influence both Estonia, UK, but also many other European countries. I don't see any direct military threat against any NATO country by Russia, but to make 100% sure that this stays this way, it's very good to have deterrence in place, and British presence is one of deterrent.
And how are relations with Russia? What sort of pressures are they putting on Estonia?
Well, let's put it this way. It's very difficult to be in good relations with a country that is currently invading not only one, but actually two countries in Europe. Not only Ukraine, a crisis that we know very well, but we have to keep in mind that Russia is still occupying about 1/3 of Georgia since 2008. So it's very difficult for any European country to have friendly relations with Russia.
But you feel, in spite of history and geography, that you do have that NATO guarantee that,
absolutely,
that there really would be war if Russia were to incur on your territory?
I believe Russia understands it very well, that any attack against any NATO country would be against it all, and this is the biggest deterrence there can be, in addition, of course, to the very visible presence of US, UK, and other allies in our region.
Do you think some in the traditional Western alliance or the Western countries of NATO rather regret extending the breadth of NATO to include countries like
Of course not. Of course not. I believe that the new members have made NATO stronger. We have good examples such as Estonia, who contribute to defense more than 2% of GDP, just like Great Britain, just like US, such as a couple of others, but not all NATO members. Estonia is one of the NATO allies doing its part, being also present together with the Brits in many missions far away from our home, contributing to the global security.
I mean, as you say, Russia is in occupation of Georgia and particularly Ukraine, and it's annexed the Crimea. It doesn't look as if there's much that the Western allies can do about that.
Well, there is a clear distinction between NATO countries and non-NATO countries. That's the truth, but we can help those countries who are not part of NATO as well. We should keep the political sanctions clearly there until we see Ukraine restoring its territorial integrity, being 100% independent again.
Do you think you'll live to see Crimea being not Russian again?
Yes, I do. I believe that every European country has the freedom and right to be independent within all of its territories, and Ukraine is a European country that has those rights.
Russia's now engaged militarily, controversially, in Syria, flying over Turkey, firing missiles from the Caspian. You've been talking to the British Prime Minister. How do you think the West should engage or not engage now with Russia on that?
Well, of course, this crisis is a very complicated one, and the best possible solution would be to find a political solution to that. But we do understand that it's not going to be easy. We know that the parties involved in the conflict are very difficult, and it's not an easy task at all. We discussed today how to deal with the consequences, mainly the migration crisis Europe is now facing very seriously, and big part of it is coming from Syria, because Syria is in war. And I'm glad that we have a very strong agreement with David Cameron that we should increase the support as EU to the neighboring countries of Syria, Lebanon, Turkey, Jordan, in order to help the refugees there. It is best for the people. They want to stay close to their homes, and it's also less of a cost to Europe. So
but, you know, those migrations and those refugee camps are only going to grow so long as there's war. Mm-hmm. And there are those in this country, senior military personnel, who are saying, well, look, actually, we should do a deal with the Russians. We should say we're less bothered about Assad, provided you concentrate on the Islamic State. What would you say to that?
Well, I don't think that having a deal with Assad staying in power would be a very sustainable solution. And thus I believe that we do need to find a political solution, but nevertheless we have to look at the conflict as a separate one. I believe Russia would have the wish to connect it to other possible conflicts, to say that, okay, let's make a deal in Syria and forget about Ukraine. This is something that the Western world definitely shouldn't do. We have to keep those things separated as they are, and we should not tolerate any military intervention to any European country.
I mean, from what you've been saying, you clearly regard membership of NATO and the European Union as very important.
Of course. Democratic
guarantees for Estonia. What do you make of Britain wanting to loosen its ties with the European Union?
I do hope that Britain does stay in EU, and I think it's very clear that EU is much better off with Britain in EU. I believe that Britain has very strong arguments to stay in EU, and I do agree with David Cameron that even the best unions can be made better. We discussed together about the options how to increase the opportunities for more single market, mainly digital single market, but not only. There are so many things that are on the way and what we can make better together. So there can be a positive
But that
reform
concept,
agenda,
which David Cameron says is not acceptable and we don't subscribe to, of ever closer union, does Estonia?
Well, I think we can be open to the discussions, and I think David Cameron will be taken very seriously in EU Council. We will be open to the discussions and find a way how to make EU even stronger together.
So you feel that there could well be significant concessions to Britain?
Well, let's put it this way. I believe that that we can listen to David's ideas and use many of them to make EU a better place.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.